This is REM's Life and How to Live It. Ironically, the name of today's episode. I don't know why I chose the name of the episode. It seemed to pop into my head. I wasn't thinking of this song at the time, and I wasn't even going to play music for the beginning of this episode. But I figured, it's named the episode is Life and How to Live It, so I may as well play the song that it's based on. So here we go. Welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 390, Life and How to Live It. A bunch of big stories today. I'll be talking a lot about. The weather plays a big, huge role in this week's episode of Dylan Knows. Mars plays a big role this week as well. WandaVision, of course. Crows appear in there. Corgi Butts make multiple appearances in this. Nightmare Before Christmas, Batman 1989, and Superman 78, Bacon Cannolis, which I probably should name the episode now I think about it. Trailers, Florida Man makes an appearance twice on this list. We have an official State of Gamers. Sansa Lambs makes an appearance. The same REM has a 30th anniversary this week. Let's see. What the hell is that? Oh, Tim Burton has a new series out there, which is similar to one of his upcoming series. Fortnite's got some stuff coming up. Easter all over the place here. Some local news. Not a lot this week. It's about three and a half pages worth of stuff, so hopefully I don't have any issues. And I'm going to get right onto it. And the mail strikes again. And Tom McFarlane makes an appearance as well. First up, we're going to talk about Pokemon Go. I haven't talked about that in a while. Yesterday was the Pokemon Go Tour Kanto, which leads me to believe that they'll be doing a number of these for all the gens, but it was a labor-intensive 12-hour event for Pokemon Go fans like myself and my wife. You had to buy a ticket for $12, and it opened up a series of quests you needed to do, as well as collections you needed to do. You had to collect all 151 Pokemon from the Kanto Pokédex. Collected all but one, because the last one is the second labor-intensive research project, which is probably going to take us till the summer, because there's a multiple amount of stuff you need to do to get this, and they want to send you through as many hoops as you can to get the blue Mew. But that was the only one that really didn't come out. But every single Pokemon was either out in the wild or in gyms, and that included the regionals that you could only get from other countries, which, if they do decide to do a second gen or third gen or whatever, would be absolutely great, because I don't have the regionals and put them in the gyms again. And then you had to trade about 10 Pokemon between you and a partner, because they did the red and green split, because they used to have two colors for every Pokemon game. So it was labor intensive. I got everything done by 9 o'clock. There was a new thing that they added to the game called NPCs, which everyone knows who plays video games knows that those are the people who just wander around and give out stuff and give you information and give you quests and stuff like that. These are NPCs are Pokemon Go players who allowed Niantic to use their identities, and I guess maybe even were allowed to pick their 3 Pokemon that they would have at Pokestops, and you'd have to fight them. We had to do 2, 5, 8, 13 of these NPC battles. And since it was freezing cold here in Maryland, 30 degrees, ice, stuff like that, it was absolutely miserable. My phone cut out during our sojourn yesterday because it was so cold. And so we had to go out at 8 o'clock at night to finish up in our cars to go to various Pokestops and take out these NPCs. We did it, though. And then you had to evolve all the Pokemon that could evolve. The ones that weren't in the wild, you still had to evolve them and catch them. They weren't caught. They were just evolved and put into your Pokedex. So it was as I said, labor-intensive event. We got a shiny Ditto. They released all the shinies now for Gen 1, so there is not one single Gen 1 that does not have an outstanding shiny. Same can't be said for the other generations. That's why I have a feeling they're probably going to do these Pokemon Go tours over the next few months, years, maybe. So fairly entertaining for the most part. The most I've played Pokemon Go in a really long time, and it was okay. Let's see what else happened this week. Talked about this last week. The new Mars lander from the U.S., Perseverance, landed safely on Mars on Wednesday. So all is good on that. They've sent back some pictures already, and now the real work begins. So cheers for that. Weather, as I've been saying, we've been stuck in this sort of cycle of weird weather that's been popping up over the last few weeks, weird temperatures, stuff like that. We never really got the very bitterly cold polar vortex stuff that they were threatening that we were going to get. We never did, though. The closest thing we got was maybe 19 degrees at one time. That was like last night. Let's see, this week, we were supposed to get a massive snowstorm on Thursday. They were calling 6 to 10 inches in my area, and like 3 to 5 in Baltimore, stuff like that. And it was going to start early and finish quickly, but it was going to be bursts of snow, which is why you're going to get a lot of snow. Well, what they failed to take into account is that the upper atmosphere was a lot warmer than they were expecting it to be. So the precipitation that was supposed to fall as snow ended up turning as sleet and dumped a shit ton of sleet onto at least the eastern seaboard and other stuff as well, causing all kinds of major issues with ice. There was some snow mixed in there as well, but the storm kept changing. It was a sleet storm, then snow, then freezing rain, then sleet, and then snow, and it kept going. It was just a big, utter mess, but it wasn't the 6 to 10 inches of snow that they were calling, so that could be considered a bust. Then we got some precipitation again overnight, and then on Friday, I went out to my car, and there was a glaze of ice literally about an inch thick on the car windshield, and I couldn't chip away at it without turning on the my car heater. And then you get onto the slippery roads because it was just complete ice. Got into almost 2 accidents in my neighborhood, which caused me to rage, not go to work because I was just so, I guess, freaked out, because there was 2 cars literally almost plowed into me twice and spun out. There was one that spun out. It was just, it's still kind of lingering over me. I've been kind of off all weekend because of that. I still don't feel entirely good about things. I rage quit. I didn't rage quit work. I rage didn't go to work. I left the car where I stopped and then walked back home. So because that was how mad I was, and I was like, I could have slipped and fallen, broken my leg because of fucking icy sidewalks and shit. So eventually, once the sun came out, sort of warmed things up, and we did get some more snow and sleet early on, but like around noonish, maybe 1 o'clock ish, the sun was out and had started to fast melt. So I decided I'm going to go back out and get my car. So I went out and got the car and brought it back to the house. But still, I'm still anxious about it. And I had that, and I've been having some other thoughts. I feel like I'm losing my identity, but we're not going to talk about that. That's not cycle. It's just my own personal issues I have to go through. Anyway, but we had these weather issues here, but nothing quite as bad as what happened in Texas. Now, I understand in Texas they do not have the infrastructure set up for ice and snow. But in 2010, they had a massive freezing down there, and you'd figure that after that, they're like, well, if it happened once, it might happen again. It might take 11 years, but we should probably have some stuff put in place just in case something like that does happen again. But like, nah, fuck it. Let's not, because Republicans are running the state. And the same time is they also have their own power grid to get away from federal oversight. And they have not weathered that. They did not weather pipes in people's houses for cold weather. They did not weather the other forms of energy use that they use in the state of Texas. They're not on the main grid. So when we got hit with massive cold, they actually got the massive cold and bitter, polar vortex sort of stuff and some snow and ice that we did. Everything froze. Their energy grid to do rolling blackouts. There were people who had blackouts for literally days. There were people who died freezing to death in their cars. There were people who died who sat in their cars, turning them on, turned the heat on without opening the windows, died of carbon monoxide poisoning. The roads were slippery and icy, even though there wasn't a lot of snow and ice, but it was due to the fact that they don't have salt trucks or plows because it's Texas. You're not expecting, cold weather, but, and also you want to save a buck by not, doing this stuff. Tons of houses, water pipes have burst, and, self-regulating electricity. People are getting $17,000 electrical bills now because of this. It is an absolute joke what's going on in Texas right now. And on top of that, the terrorist Republican seditionist Ted Cruz, who helped try to overturn our government and a lawful election, decided instead of helping Texas, he was going to go to Cancun with his family for the weekend. Left his dog alone in the freezing house and just left. But luckily, there are people who caught pictures of him on the airplane, caught pictures of him with his massive bag. And so people started having outrage thoughts. So now he was guilted into coming back and kept claiming that he was only going to chaperone his wife and 2 middle-aged kids to Cancun and then leave them alone to come back literally that next day. That was proven to be false because there was no record of a return trip until he changed it. His bag was full for a weekend trip and not a one-day trip back and forth. And to allow your to stay in a strange place by themaselves or with their mother is also kind of sucks, as it were. So he's guilted back. But meanwhile, Beto O'Rourke, who lost a election to Ted Cruz, and AOC, who is not even Texas representative, have, Beto was calling people and getting people help what he could to do to get them to help, and AOC raised $4 million for them as well. So bunch of stupid stuff. And then Rick Perry, another Republican senator or whatever, said that Texans should go without electricity to stick it to the libs and to fight socialism. People are dying, but they don't care, as I said, because they have the electrical stuff as well going on. It's been a complete shit show. Lots of deaths, lots of people without food, water, electricity, heat, and the cold stuff. I think is starting to break now, but still there's a lot of major problems and damage that's going to be causing a major issue down there for the future. And so, particularly with their electrical stuff not being, corrected and stuff like that, there's going to be major issues and stuff like that. So all kinds of stuff about that. I'm on a whole roll about stuff like that. Newsmax, which is one of these stupid Republican sort of controlled, more like QAnon controlled sort of stuff, was saying that President Biden's dogs are dirty and not at all presidential dogs. If that's the best they can find, it's like the tan suit and grateful palm mustard again, because they can't find any actual scandals. So they were screaming about that. And then these same QAnon fucks in the South believe that snow is fake, that it's a chemical compound that was distributed by chemtrails, or they could also be nanobots created by Bill Gates that sticks it to the poor people, and the deep state is in control of it to protect their wealthy elites down there. And they were trying to prove this by getting ice balls and lighting them on fire with lighters. And they're saying, see, it's not melting, and there's scorch marks on it. Well, apparently this is something that's happened every time snow and ice pops up down the South, because those QAnon fucks are down there out of their fucking gourds because they're uneducated shitheads. Did not realize that, it's ice, and when you melt ice with a lighter, of all things, it's not going to melt the way you think it is. It's going to actually absorb the water that is melting and reabsorb it and turn to ice. Have you ever had a fucking snow cone, you dumb fucks? You're big on family carnivals and shit like that. You should be having these fucking snow cones. You should know how that's how a fucking snow cone works, you dumb fuck. And the scorch marks because there's carbon in the fucking lighters, you dumbasses. So of course it's going to scorch. What you need to do is, that's ice. Also, ice has a different compound than snow. What you need to do is you need to actually, shovel some snow, put it in a bowl, and leave it out in lukewarm, nothing to microwave, just put it out in a lukewarm house, a heated house, 60 degrees, 70 degrees, whatever, and just let it sit there for about an hour or two. And then you're going to see your fucking water, you dumb shits. God damn it, you're fucking stupid. You're the same fucking people who drink urine because you heard that COVID-19, that's a cure for COVID-19 is to fucking drink urine. There's a family of 4 who did that for 3 fucking days because they were told that drinking your own urine helps you save yourself from COVID-19. So fuck off, you dumb shits. I'm so sick of your bullshit. That was another story I was going to do, so I'll mark that off when I get there. I'm not really in the mood to find it right now. So you dumb fucking shitheads. God damn it. And then one of your biggest proponents, Rush Limbaugh, passed away this week from the cancer he was suffering from. And fucking Texas and Florida's like, we need to put our flags at half staff. He's a fucking Republican douchebag radio host. He's not some fucking military hero or presidential candidate, you dumb fucks. He's a racist, bigoted, misogynistic fuckhead. And I'm glad he's burning in fucking hell. I don't care what you say or think about me. He's a fucking douchebag and he deserves what he gets. Fuck you. God damn it, you guys are so fucking stupid. Give me a second. Sorry. All right. Let's do some brighter stories. A woman in Oregon befriended crows. She was bored in her house due to COVID-19 sanctions and having kept in the house. And she got bored, so she was watching the crows in her small neighborhood flying around and doing stuff. And it's entertaining what they were doing. So she talked to her local Audubon Society and said, hey, would it be okay if I fed the crows? And they're like, yeah, I don't see no problem with it. So she started feeding these crows, and the crows sort of became her friends, her own personal army, as it were. She declares it in her story. But the problem is they became overprotective of her when people who were coming over to visit, socially distanced, of course, they would dive bomb them, squawk at them, nip at them, stuff like that. So the woman's like, I can't have this happening because I don't want any of my neighbors to get bit by these birds that I've sort of riled up a little bit, and I don't want to get sued. So he convinced the whole town to, hey, why don't you all feed the crows? And maybe they'll be your friends too, and they'll attack you as much. So if people are like, yeah, we're bored, may as well do it. It's mostly elderly people in this town. So they got their bird feed and their stuff like that, and they started feeding the crows, and the crows were like, oh, okay, you're cool. And so, treated everyone in the town as, friends and family. No more dive bombings, no more pecking after them. If they went to visit each other, they weren't bothering them because they remembered that these people were feeding them. But here's the good part, though. So this area in Oregon gets icy and snowy as well. So recently, a elderly person, probably in his 70s, 80s, living by himself, had to go out onto his driveway to go get the newspaper or take out the trash or something like that. As he was walking on his slippery, icy driveway, he slipped and fell. Now, elderly people, it's a little harder for them to get up, and he could have hurt himself pretty badly on the ground and the ice. So he's calling for help, but nobody can hear him because everybody's indoors and it's winter and stuff like that. The crows, seeing this, the entire murder of crows started screeching and making so much noise that one of the neighbors was like, what the hell is all that noise? And they get up and look out their door, and they see their neighbor sprawled out on the driveway trying to get up, calling for help. And they're like, oh shit. So they get out of the house and they go and they help this elderly person up and get him to the hospital, so like to make sure he's okay. If the crows wouldn't have done that, who knows what would have happened to this guy? It was cold. It was icy. He wasn't able to get up. He could have broken something. I don't even know what the majority would happen with a story like that. But it's an amazing story, and I think it's really, really should be good to be told and heard about. Experts confirmed that an orange pearl found in a trucker's 1-pound sea snail snack. It's Asia. They eat sea snails as snacks. It's not a big deal. It's not that crazy. But he found an orange pearl in it. experts who looked at it discovered that it was a rare mellow pearl that is worth $100,000. So that's pretty impressive to find something like that. Going back to the whole Texas, electrical breakdown and all that bullshit down there. There are some good stories out of it. H-E-B, a local grocery store down there, lost power while a number of people were in the store trying to get stuff to help survive this storm and the electricity and the total fuck up of their fucking Republican fuck faces who run their fucking government. The grocery store lost power. So because they couldn't have them pay, they couldn't get them to pay for their groceries, the staff just let them take the groceries away for free. And people were certainly touched by that. And when they were getting out to their cars with the slippery ice and snow, people were having trouble getting their stuff into their cars and stuff like that. People banded together to help each other put their groceries into their cars. And I think that's kind of a sort of a nice story with all this fuckery that happened, that fucking Republican fucking controlled fuckers. There was a rumor that has since been debunked, but it made for interesting discussion for about a day. Jennifer Lawrence, late of the Hunger Games saga and other movies as well, and Mystique and the X-Men, Fox X-Men movies, had been cast as Sue Storm in the MCU's FF adaptation. Turned out that has been debunked by the MCU. Now, of course, the MCU has a history of debunking stuff, and then turns out that it's true. But in the end, I think this is just not a true story. People thought we're just thinking of actresses that haven't done stuff for a while or have been in similar situations. Say, hey, what about her? Yeah, that's a good story. And they told the story, so I'm not sure how true it was to begin with or how true it's going to be. But I don't think that they've even started thinking I'm sure they started thinking about the Fantastic Four, but I don't think they've even started. I don't think I don't think they have a director tapped yet or a writing team tapped yet, or they even started production on it because they're trying to get their other stuff off their TV series and their other movies that they've got planned well in advance. They're kind of a little busy doing that stuff right now. So I don't know if they're quite ready to start working on that right now. Plus, we don't know with COVID's going on, what's going to happen with, filming and going on like that. So that being said, WandaVision episode 7 dropped this past Friday, and demand for it was so heavy that Disney Plus crashed for a while. Dropped this past Friday, and demand for it was so heavy that Disney Plus crashed for a while. People wanting to see what happens after last week's insane ending, where, spoiler alert, Wanda expanded the borders of the barrier that entrapped a number of sword people and saved Vision's life. And so people were trying to figure out what was going on. Well, episode 7 dropped, and we jumped to the 2010s with Modern Family / what was the other one? The Office sort of mix of the TV sort of trope that they were doing on this one. It was called Breaking the Fourth Wall, and it had Wanda talking directly to the audience about what's going on, sort of filmed in, as I said, that cinema verite style that The Office and Modern Family did. And it's basically was Wanda's day off, Wanda Maximoff's day off. As I said, she wakes up in bed almost like she was hungover. Vision's side of his bed, the covers have been pulled aside, like he got up and left quickly, and she's still hungover. She's acting like she's hungover. That's the joke about it. That she's like, you're hungover, a headache, and she's like, oh, what did I do? All this stuff. And her 2 boys come in and scream that there's some weird stuff going on. They're playing video games, and the video game controllers kept changing to earlier models. They had the modern day ones, and then they went back to like the 1990s style, and they went to the Atari style, and they went to Uno cards, which is kind of funny. And then I think Tommy, who has the psychic abilities, is starting to hear all the psychic people talking in his head, and it's driving him a little bad. But Wanda, being the way she's like, I don't have time for this right now. Just they'll go away, just go away. And so, as I said, it's like she's hungover. So she takes off the covers, and she's still wearing her Scarlet Witch appropriate costume for Halloween, which, by the way, looks really good on her. That's besides the point. Anyway, she changes into her robe and continues to talk, and then comes downstairs, and the boys are talking to her, and weird stuff keeps happening. And then Agnes shows up just in the nick of time to take the boys away, so that, spend the day with her, so that Wanda can have her a peaceful day. So the boys go with Agnes, and Wanda just like sits back on the couch and starts flipping on the TV, and her reality starts to unravel, switching between all the different realities. Like the paint, the wallpaper changes to like the 1970s styles, and then the stork from the Baby episode pops up again, and the TV changes from a modern TV to an old box style TV, and the sofas change, and she's got to change it, but she's sort of kind of losing control about stuff and doesn't know what's going on. Meanwhile, the boys are at Agnes's, and Tommy is saying that he can't hear anything in his head here, and so he kind of likes it there. And Agnes is kind of suspicious about things. But she's like, okay, that's cool. And she's watching them pretty good. And then it cuts to Vision, who is, still where he was when the barrier shifted, and he gets up. He's now surrounded by the sword people, who are now members of a traveling carnival, have no idea that they were sword people. And it also includes Darcy, who is the escape artist. Remember, she was handcuffed to something when the barrier shifted. But again, she doesn't know who she is. She thinks she's an escape artist of a traveling circus. But Vision remembered that they had a moment where they locked eyes, and Darcy's character believes that he's like macking on her a little bit. The head guy of the circus believes Vision is the new clown, so wants him to get to work with the escape artist girl. So the Darcy, who's mind changed, is calling him a stalker and stuff like that, but he uses his powers to her right mind back, and she explains everything that's going on. And so they steal a snack truck and drive away to try to go back to Wanda. Meanwhile, things keep going south for Wanda and Vision and Darcy. Darcy fills in a lot of stuff going on to Vision, so he knows what's happening. And so we get a lot of kind of extraneous filler and stuff like that, just to get people up to speed and stuff like that. But there are things that keep getting in their way that they can't get to Wanda, which seems rather odd. But then I forget what draws their attention. What draws her attention? Oh, that's right. Meanwhile, I forgot about Monica. Monica and Jimmy Choo have met with her aerospace buddies. No one famous. Everybody's thinking it's gonna be Reed Richards, something like that. No, it wasn't anyone famous. Who created this sort of moon buggy that Monica is going to drive into the barrier to go back inside. And Jimmy is warning her, don't do it. It's dangerous, stuff like that. But she's like, I got to do this. So she believes that this space vehicle will get her inside the barrier. So she suits up, and she gets into the truck, and she drives it into the barrier, and it takes all of her willpower to try to ram it through, but it's not working, and it starts to revert it to the contemporary, it's like 2010, so it's trying to shift it to like an old sort of station wagon truck sort of thing. So Jimmy tells her to get out, and she does, and watches as the truck gets back out, and half of it is this like truck from the 2010s and this futuristic spacecraft, this rover that she created. So now she's like, I gotta try. She's like, I can get inside. So she decides to walk in by herself without the machine, and she's taken all of her willpower to do it, and all her different personalities, Geraldine and stuff like that, are all flinging up like that. And she's hearing the voice of Captain Marvel talk to her from the Captain Marvel movie and the things they were discussing and like that. And she makes her way, the voice of Captain Marvel talk to her from the Captain Marvel movie and the things they were discussing and like that. And she makes her way barrier, and she starts seeing various types of spectrums of color and light, which is one of her powers. And she finally reverts back to normal and makes her way to where Wanda is. So she's able to make her way to Wanda's house, where everything is, as I said, still going crazy, and she has an encounter with Wanda again, and she's convincing Wanda that something else is going on, that Wanda's not the one who's in control and stuff like that. And she's almost got Wanda under her spell when Agnes suddenly pops up and tells Monica to go away, and they're able, and she grabs Wanda and like pushes past Monica and takes her to her house. When they get to Agnes's house, this is where the spoilers come in. Wanda goes in and she wants to see the boys. The boys are not there. They were there because there's plates with their half-eaten lunches there, but the boys are not there. Meanwhile, Agnes has disappeared, and so Wanda's walking around the house and is like asking, what's going on, where boys, stuff like that, and Agnes is like, the boys are in the basement. So Wanda goes in the basement, and the basement of Agnes's house is all kinds of fucked up. It's weird, dark. There's mystical shit everywhere, weird lighting, all kinds of. So there's something weird going on. And then Wanda sees it, she sort of flunks by it, and then Agnes appears behind her and says, "Hello, darling, my name is actually not Agnes, it's Agatha Harkness," which is who we all thought she was going to be. And then it cuts to a great musical number about it was all Agatha, saying everything that's been happening in the WandaVision world is due to what Agatha Harkness has been doing. So it's this great little TV like TV song about Agatha. It's all Agatha or something like that. It's fantastic. And that's where the episode ends. Vision, meanwhile, I'm sorry, I forgot before that happens, Vision, since they've kept being stopped along the way, Vision decides that he needs to get to Wanda, so he phases out and flies out of the snack truck with Darcy, saying, "I'll get there when I get there," to try to make her way there. So Vision's on his way. Darcy's on her way. The boys have disappeared. Agnes has been unveiled to be Agatha Harkness and potentially appears to be the one who's pulling all the strings and doing all this. I don't think that's entirely the case. I think there's something else at work going on, and we'll find out later on. We still got 2 episodes to go. But for the first time, this has a mid-credit sequence. So you have the credits where, they always do it, the Marvel ones, and then they do the cast members, and it's like WandaVision, and then it cuts to the mid-credit sequence, which has Monica, who has followed them to Agnes's house and can't get in through the front door, so she goes around the back and discovers a doorway down to the basement. So she tries to she opens up the doorway to the basement, and she sees the strange purple lights and stuff like that down there. And as she gets up, Pietro pops up right next to her and says something like, Snooper's gonna pay or something like that. And her eyes are purple. And that's where that ends. And that was Pietro's only appearance in the episode. It was mostly, as I said, Elizabeth Olsen, who continues to do an absolutely amazing job in the role. Still looking hot as hell also. Not that it has any bearing on anything, but she still does. Paul Bettany's Vision is absolutely fantastic as well. Catherine Harold's Agnes / Agatha is fantastic as well. Getting Jimmy Choo and Monica and Darcy all together also is also amazing. And we also discover that acting director Harwood, or whatever his name is, Hargrove, whatever, is going to release something called Operation Cataract. So we don't know what that is yet. So he has escaped being pulled into the barrier. So he's on the outside still running SWORD from the outside. And they're planning something. So there's going to be a lot of stuff just going to converge here in the next 2 episodes. So I think they're going to dispel of the sitcom tropes, or maybe stick with the Office / Modern Family one. I don't foresee that. I think we're going to shift to straight up Marvel MCU movie style filmmaking now, since all the players are certainly in place or getting to be on their place. Agnes and Agatha and Wanda together in the basement. The boys disappeared. Vision on his way. Jimmy on the outside. outside of the sword stuff. He's like the last ditch effort. If anything happens, Darcy's on her way in, and then Hargrove or Harwood or whatever the fuck his name is, I forget, getting his plan to motion. All the gears are starting to get close, and they're going to start, some are already clanging in there, some aren't. So we're going to start seeing a lot of that, and I think we're going to just see a straight up more MCU style film. I think the finale is going to be this day. I think this is the beginning of the finale, and this is going to be, what happens by the end of the day. This episode is going to be the future of WandaVision. So we'll see what happens. So still good, not as good as the previous few episodes, but still entertaining, still one of the better shows out there, and absolutely you should still keep watching. And I think everybody involved in the show is doing a phenomenal job, not just the actors and directors in the background as well. I think it is absolutely phenomenal, and will be an absolute crime if at next year's Emmys it does not get any sort of nods whatsoever. So we'll see what happens. Hell, there might be a time where they might be going up against each other. It might be WandaVision, Loki, and Falcon and Winter Soldier all vying for best sitcom or best TV show or best drama or something like that, along with, Schitt's Creek or whatever else we got. So should be interesting to see how that's going to run out there. Cloris Leachman, who died back on January 27th. We weren't exactly sure quite how her death happened, but it has been determined now that COVID-19 did contribute to her death. So you can add another affected by that. A great white shark-sized ancient fish was discovered by accident in a fossilized lung of another creature. So that's always interesting when you find things that you never expected. Baking cannoli is a new thing now. Cannolis are those, sweet bread sort of things that Italians like to eat, but now you wrap it in bacon, adds that extra layer to it. Krispy Kreme is all over the place here. First up for this week, they revealed their Mars donut, a all red donut that had crumbles on it, like the dirt of Mars, stuff like that. Didn't try. Don't know of anybody who has. Don't even know if my Krispy Kreme even had it, but it was an actual thing that happened. And also there is a Krispy Kreme challenge where you eat 12 donuts during a 5K race, which is just grounds for something bad to to happen. And also about donuts, also this is more into, so we're surrounded by idiots. I went off on the snow people. Here's another idiot who ordered a dozen munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts. The little ball donuts, stuff like that. When he received 12, which is a dozen, by the way. It makes sense when I tell you in a second. 12 is a dozen, remember that. He received 12 of these munchkins. He's saying, what the fuck is this? This isn't a dozen. A dozen is 50. Don't lose control. Fucking moron. Sorry, had to do it. Oh, God. I need to get better. Today's episode is Life and How We Live It via REM. 30 years ago this week, REM's most popular single of all time, Losing My Religion, was released, which means it's got to mean that Out of Time has got to be doing their 30th. It was 91, I guess it was 91. 30th anniversary. Hell, it's my 30th. Fuck, it's my 30th anniversary of my high school reunion. Fuck. Holy shit, didn't even think about that. It's 2021. Jesus Christ. But yeah, Losing My Religion, the first single from Out of Time came out this week, so it's 30 years old. Losing My Religion is the song that catapulted REM into the stratosphere. Now, they had been building from a small Southern rock group in Athens, Georgia, and the first couple albums were just sort of like, alternative radio would play them, and people would, they would play like dive bars and shit like that, maybe some concerts outdoors at like little fairs and shit like that. And then they did some TV appearances on some of the popular like Nickelodeon shows from the 1980s and stuff like that. And then once they signed with Warner Brothers, they started having the Warner Brothers marketing department behind them, so they started getting more of their albums out. So The One I Love, which became a huge hit for them, came out like that. It's the End of the World as We Know It, stuff like that. Songs that you know about REM now started with that. And so they were building and building to this point. In 1991, the release of Out of Time, which is their most successful album in history, and as I said, catapulted them into the stratosphere. They were the greatest band in the United States for about 6 years, and the release of 3 albums. And Losing My Religion was one that started off with its absolutely insane atmospheric video that was played nonstop on MTV, which during that time, you can't, discount that, because if you had a video playing constantly all the time on MTV, it was going to make your single rise, because people were watching the shit out of that stuff, and it won all the VMA awards and all that stuff. So it was, and then the album itself came out and was a huge, massive hit. It became such a big hit that they rapidly created their follow-up album to Out of Time, which was personally their greatest album, in my opinion, Automatic for the People, which was released about a year or so later. And it made not as much as Out of Time, but it lost just a fraction of what Out of Time did. So it still was a huge hit. So REM became the biggest band in the world for a while. And then they had their third album, Monster, come out, and then they took on a whirlwind year-long concert tour called the Monster Tour, which I've talked about in this before. That concert was what basically destroyed REM for the most part. It was one of the worst concerts that they ever had, not because of them, but because of the situations that erupted. Medical issues happened to all members of the group, where they had to delay the concert a number of times, and then there were weather issues and other types of stuff that just caused a massive thing. And so while they were on the road, they recorded stuff for another album, New Adventures in Hi-Fi, which is another one of my favorite ones, and released it a couple years after the Monster tour was over. At that point, Bill Berry, the drummer for REM, said, "I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore." So he booked. And so REM was sort of on a ledge, as like, should we continue as a trio because we've always been a foursome? Or should we just say, okay, we lost one, we're going to lose everything? They'd always just thought that they were going. A few things went through their head. One thing is that they said, they've said before early on that if anyone decided to leave, the whole band would break up. The second one was that they were going to play one last concert on December 31st, 1999. On January 1st, 2000, they were going to break up. That didn't happen either, because in the end, Warner Brothers said they still had that popularity, that they weren't as popular as Out of Time and stuff like that era, but they still were very popular. Warner Brothers said, "We're going to re-up your contract, so here's some money." And they're like, we can do a couple more albums. So they did a couple more albums. They did another tour. They did the score for the movie Man on the Moon, starring Jim Carrey, about Andy Kaufman. And the rest is history. So they became a trio, and then they were put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Bill Berry came back out to join them for the concert that they have at the Hall of Fame. And he's also joined them on tour a few times periodically, not enough so they get back together and make an album, but he would help them periodically like that. But 30 years ago, Losing My Religion came out. And 3 years ago was my high school reunion, or my high school graduation. So God damn, that's old. I'm old. Nightmare Before Christmas is one of the most beloved movies out there. My daughter absolutely loves it also. There's a sequel coming, but not in the format of a movie. In this case, there's been a sequel. There was a manga that was released through Tokyo Pop that they created into comic form, so you could get it at the comic books. I got that for my daughter, called Zero's Adventure or something like that. This is instead going to be a novel about what takes place after Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's going to focus on Sally, her life, how she became like that. So I'm intrigued to see that. I think I'm going to buy it for my daughter. I think she will really, really enjoy that, because she still likes the movie and the character of Sally. So that'll be really a fun, entertaining thing to get for her, I believe. So hopefully she'll like that. So DC Comics has had some success with their digital. They do is their digital first. They've done a bunch of comics digital first. They do like, I don't know, like 10-page weekly comics that eventually on that you can get digital first, and then after 2 weeks they combine them into a 20, 21, 22-page comic and release that, so people who don't do the digital online can actually have it in the form of a floppy in their hands. They've been successful in a number of their stuff, and one of the things they did do was they did a comic called Batman 66, which they did the brand new adventures featuring the Adam West and Burt Ward, Batman and Robin from the TV show of 1966, and the characters like that. They've done a number of comics about that continues the Batman TV series from that perspective, the 1966 series. They also did a Wonder Woman 78, which follows the Linda Carter Wonder Woman and continues after what happened on her show in a comic format as well. Well, they're at it again. They have now signed up to do Batman 89 and Superman 78. Batman 89 obviously is going to follow Michael Keaton's Tim Burton inspired Batman and what happens after that, including the chance to see Billy D. Williams's Two-Face saga come to fruition finally. And then they're also doing the Superman 78 comic, which is going to follow the Christopher Reeve and after the Superman movies. And again, done in the same format. The Superman's going to look like Christopher Reeve. The Batman's going to look like Michael Keaton. As the comics, Batman 66 looked like Adam West, and Wonder Woman 78 looked like Linda Carter and stuff like that. And they've gone and they've done crossovers with like Green Hornet and the Shadow and stuff like that. So, and it's been so popular that DC's animated movie wing created a Batman 66 animated movie that brought Adam West and Burt Ward's back into doing the voices of the characters and created William Shatner as the voice of their version of Two-Face. So kind of interesting as well. So that's coming up. And again, the same thing is going to happen. It's going to go digital first. And then once they have enough to collect into a series, they'll collect the digital chapters into like 2 per comic, and they'll release like a 10-issue comic series or whatever, however many issues it is. And you'll get to see the story if you don't do it digitally. So that's kind of a neat thing. So that should be interesting to see how that goes as well. Fortnite, which is one of the game systems that I play, games that I play with my son a lot. They're continuing their new season doesn't end until mid-March, so we've got still another month to go in this new season. But they keep adding new things. They've been adding all kinds of new stuff. They've added the CW Flash, the CW Green Arrow. They've added Daryl and Michonne from Walking Dead. They've added other video game characters like a Master Chief and stuff like that. And Ghostbusters and stuff like that. So they're adding all kinds of stuff. Well, their newest additions are 2 members of Street Fighter, the old action arcade game. They were released in the shop yesterday, and they'll be available probably for about 2 or 3 days before they go away. There's also rumors that there's going to be a WandaVision skins coming into the game and a Family Guy crossover, which I absolutely want to bang my head against. So we'll see if that is in fact true. And I think there's another Fortnite story. Yeah, there's also the Fortnite Fart Flopper is a new fish you can get now that if you catch it and you use it, it will spew out dark smoke from your butt, apparently, I guess, which a lot of people are speculating, like, why the hell would you use it then? Because that's just bad. You'll be spotted because of the smoke trail. A lot of people are now believing that's going to be used like there used to be like a fog or like a smoke grenade, which you would use and get away. People wouldn't be able to see. The thing that there might be a similar thing where the fart smoke coming from your butt would cause it so that your opponents would not be able to see you. It'd just be seeing the smoke and not see where you physically are. So we'll see if that comes to fruition as well. April Fool's Day is still a long way away, so not gonna happen. So I think Marvel, the MCU, finally has all of their Netflix characters back under their banner again. Punisher and Jessica Jones were released back to the MCU this week. So now they are eligible to be used in the MCU now. The rules was when Netflix signed the contract that after their series were done, they could not be used for 2 years. So we've gradually gotten all the other ones. We've gotten Daredevil back and Luke Cage and Iron Fist and the Defenders and all that together. So now we have the Punisher and Jessica Jones is back under the fold as well. So we'll see if and what the MCU is going to do with these characters. I think they should not ignore them or ignore their series. They should absolutely embrace the series, add them to the MCU list so you can watch those series and then have their characters interact with the MCU characters and, not change their characters or recast the actors and have them brand new, keep them the way they are. Have John Bernthal's Punisher pop up in Spider-Man, or Daredevil's Charlie Cox show up in Spider-Man, or even Jessica Jones in Spider-Man. She's got connection as well. Have Luke Cage and Iron Fist team up to do a Heroes for Hire movie, or the Dragons movie that they wanted to do as well with Misty Knight and all that. They should do something like that, and they should have them interact with the MCU characters. Like Winter Soldier and the Falcon run into Luke Cage and Iron Fist, or stuff like that, or have them all have a connection to the Fantastic Four, or have them have their own series on Disney Plus where you redo not redo, but you continue their stories. The Punisher only had 2 seasons. You get a 3rd season of the Punisher, which might be a little bit violent for Disney Plus, but still you do it. Same with Jessica Jones. These are more grown up, but you can still absolutely, if you need to, you can probably water it down for your Disney Plus people, just as long as we get some new content. That would be great, but we'll see if that actually is going to happen. A Pichu phone charger figurine is now available. It's about this big, and it's Pichu, which is the baby version of Pikachu. And it's really adorable, and you can charge your phone on it now because Pichu is a electric type Pokemon. You put your phone on a cheek, and it'll charge your phone. It's a built-in handle so that it looks like Pichu's talking on the phone while it's charging. So it's kind of interesting to see that as well. I should have named the episode this, but I probably would have gotten banned. A Google enthusiast discovers an obscure island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that looks like a giant penis. She showed pictures of it. It's got the balls and the shaft, and it's got the rounded edges like that. It looks like a giant dick, and I'm calling it Dick Island is what they should call it. It is a island that is obscure that no one's, I guess, ever really discussed or seen before, but Google has, and this person who I guess spends their day just looking through Google, Google like that, because you have a lot of people who do this. They discover all kinds of crazy stuff, just see different locations, see what it looks like. They discovered this Dick Island. So, do I have a picture of it? I don't think so. It's on Facebook, I think. Let's see if I can find. I was going to say Dick Island, but I don't think it's going to Google. It's just like Google enthusiast. Enthusiast. There we go. Yep, there it is right there. There's Dick Island. So, yeah. I think it's kind of funny. Sad news, just breaking, came right now. U.S. reaches 500,000 deaths from coronavirus. Thanks a lot, you fucking terrorist in the White House. Who was in the White House? Biden's the terrorist. That fucking asshole before him was. I'm refusing to use his name or bring up again. So thanks a fucking lot. Florida man makes a couple appearances here. One is an old appearance, which I kind of remember the story, but I figured we need a little bit of fun here, and I got another Florida man story around here too, somewhere. This one is from 2016, so I obviously probably did this story, 5 years ago. But a Florida man was charged with aggravated assault after he threw an alligator into a Wendy's drive-in window. First of all, how the hell did you get a crocodile or alligator. I'm sorry, what is it? Alligator. Alligator. How do you get a fucking alligator into your car? Then fucking drive up to a Wendy's drive-through window and throw the fucker in. Hopefully to attack Wendy's staff. What the hell is the matter with you, you dumb fuck? Which seems to be my word choice of the day here. Let me see if I can. There's one other Florida man thing, which is more there is Florida man is arrested for kidnapping 27 people and forced him to play Yahtzee for 36 straight hours. And then his mugshot looks like a cartoon character. Orange hair, wide eyes, stuff like that. He looked absolutely insane. Playing Yahtzee for 36 hours straight doesn't seem like a bad thing. But having that freaking guy around you probably is. Some minor deaths besides that awful person, Rush Limbaugh. We have Bruce Myers, who is the creator of the Myers-Banks Dune buggy. He died this week. Rhode Island black judge Alton W. Wiley died at the age of 91. Prince Marky D of the Fat Boys also died this week as well. Vincent Jackson, former wide receiver for the San Diego Chargers, at the time it was San Diego Tampa Bay Buccaneers, died at the age of 38. I kind of remember having him on my fantasy teams a few times, but he's still fairly young and is not, it's not an old player. He's one that probably retired not too long ago. So that's kind of sad. And Si Spurrier, who is a comic book writer, mostly for UK-style comics and 2000 like that, passed away this week as well. So rest in peace, all you guys, not that idiot Rush Limbaugh. Invincible, the comic created by Robert Kirkman at the same time as The Walking Dead. Walking Dead has become a huge AMC live-action TV show hit. Invincible is an animated series based on his other character. Now, Walking Dead, which is a story about people surviving in a zombie apocalypse, is miles different than Invincible. Invincible is a hardcore science fiction superhero story. Start off as like your typical Marvel superhero story. Young guy discovers he has powers, learns how to use them, wants to become a hero like his father. Then turns out his father is quite not as nice as he thinks he is. He's part of an alien race that was sent to Earth to take it over, but fell in love with an Earth woman, but also fell in love with an alien woman and has another child as well who has his powers too. But he has to live up to his bargain to take over the Earth, and now his son has to fight him for it. It is a hugely violent action-packed series. The comic was good for a while, and I guess when I stopped reading comics for a while, I stopped reading it, and I never got back into it. I think it ended eventually, but there was a lot more heavy stuff that came out of it. He got his girlfriend, another superhero, Adam Eve, pregnant, and they had a family and stuff like that, and it was a brutal battle, which I think Invincible lost trying to stop this invasion, but his dad turned on the invaders and was able to stop them, but caused them just to build mass and take it. There was a lot of stuff going on in it, and so they're finally making an animated series about it, because you really can't make a live action version of this, which is going to be available on Amazon end of March 26th. So just in time for Easter, actually. So good on that. So the first trailer that came out, and it is definitely not shying away from the brutalness of stuff. So it's going to be a brutal series, much like we expect it to be. So that's a good thing, I guess. Star Wars casts Aladdin actor. They did a live action version of Aladdin with Will Smith as the genie. Menu Massoud as a live action Ezra Bridger, who was the main character from Rebels and has the connection to Ahsoka Tano, who appeared in the live action version of The Mandalorian and was discussing, Thrawn and Ezra Bridger and stuff like that. If you watched Rebels, Ezra Bridger and Thrawn disappeared at the end of this episode and end of the season, end of the show, not knowing what happened to them. And we're believing that this casting is going to lead into the filming of the Ahsoka Tano action series. Disney Plus has already had planned and on the shelf. And has been announced. It's going to start filming soon. So obviously they're going to have Ezra Bridger on it, and they have now cast an actor to portray him. So that's a good thing. Edgar Wright, who personally I think is a highly overrated director, but a lot of people really like his stuff, was supposed to be the original director of Ant-Man before he and the studio got into a little bit of a tizzy. But Edgar Wright is to direct a new adaptation of The Running Man, Stephen King's book that was based on, I don't know if King wrote or if he wrote under Richard Bachman, I can't remember. But it was made into a film in the 1980s with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Len Dawson it was Len Dawson. I know it's Dawson is his last name. I don't know if it's Len or Ken or Phil. Phil Dawson might have been the football player. I think it's Len Dawson is in there as well. And I think Yaphet Kotto was in that as well. And it's basically about, how there's the most popular show in future America is The Running Man, which is a show about people, sort of like a Hunger Games almost, where a group of 100 people are released into like a war zone area and have to survive by killing, people who are out to kill them with all types of stuff. And someone has to, save the day and stuff like that. So could be interesting to see what he's going to do with that. And it's been almost 40 some years since the version came out. So it's due for a reboot, I suppose. Sasha Calle has been cast as the DC cinematic universe Supergirl. Will appear in the horrible Flash movie that's still apparently being made with Ezra Miller, despite how horrible it sounds and how horrible he is, but that's besides the point. But they have cast a new Supergirl, getting away again from the CW type of characters, which is a shame because, they've all been perfectly cast, but that's besides the point. Kit Kat is creating a vegan Kit Kat bar. So if you are a fan of Kit Kat, you can get yourself a vegan Kit Kat bar. And if you're a vegan, you can have it as well. Cold Stone Creamery is getting ready for St. Patrick's Day with their new Lucky Charms ice cream, which is topped with gold glitter. Now, I'm hoping that the gold glitter is edible, but it looks really good. I might have to go to a Cold Stone Creamery and pick it up before St. Patrick's Day, which is March 17th, coming up. Oh, yeah. Alaskan woman who was using an outhouse, because they still have outhouses out in Alaska, was attacked by a bear. Not unusual because there's lots of bears in the wild, in Alaska particularly, and the outhouses outside, hence the name outhouse, stuff like that. But the problem was the bear was under the outhouse, which is where all the crap and piss and shit goes. And the bear was under there and attacked the woman from underneath the outhouse. Alaska people. Bears are insane. Japan has a jumbo submarine by a lithium-ion battery. I saw this freaking submarine. It's like, how the hell are you going to get it underwater? It's fucking like 10 stories tall. It's almost like a cruise ship. Trench, maybe. But God, but it's run by a lithium-ion battery, so I guess it's interesting to check that out. Back in the 1920s and the early 30s, actually it was the 1920s and early 30s before Franklin Roosevelt was elected president, we had the Great Depression, where lots of people lost their houses and jobs and stuff like that. We had the Dust Bowl happen at the same time, so it was just a miserable time in American history. But there was lots of people who were unemployed and homeless and didn't have jobs and lost everything. Well, President Hoover, who was the one that they were blaming this disaster, helped create these homeless little towns in different cities, which were no more than little shacks. I don't think anything, it wasn't, a lot of thought really wasn't put into it, but it was like, it's going to give them some shelter, but it's a way for people to have a place to stay and keep dry and warm, I guess, supposedly, but I don't think it was, um, no, didn't have enough stuff to protect it from the elements. So, best thing in the world. Reading this in history class as a naive college student in the mid 1990s or early to mid 1990s. I was in college from fall of 91 through summer of 95. I should say spring of 95. In one of my history classes, I read about vills, which is what they were called, these things. And I always thought they were an interesting idea. It would be an easy way to solve the homeless problem in the world. Obviously, you would make a better version of Hoovervilles. You could create these small little houses for homeless people that have, like the small mini houses, like it has a bedroom, a bathroom, like a kitchen, and like a great room sort of thing. And they're small. And you have your own little. You could have a whole bunch of them scattered out, and it wouldn't cost anything, or it would be help to be funded by the city or something like that. I'm not sure. There's millions of things you could probably do. And my professor disagreed with me on thinking that it was a good idea for the homeless. I'm not going to get into our debate, stuff like that. It wasn't a terrible debate, but it was just something that always sticks in my mind when I remember this stuff. But then gradually these things have started making appearances over the last few years, particularly in this century for the most part, as people are starting to realize we should do something sort of like that. And LA has just opened a tiny houseville for the homeless. So it's basically their version of a Hooverville, but obviously they're nicer houses. They have the insulation, so it's used not only to keep you protected from the elements, but keep you warm during the winter, cool during the summer, and you have everything you need there, so you're not laying on the street. You could get robbed or have, bad things happen to you. So we have a ton of homeless people, and I don't know if this is the entire answer. I think you need to figure out a way to work on making sure that we don't have the homeless, be it job training or education or ways to help them instead of just saying, well, here's some houses, just stay off our streets. And I think that might be what my professor was getting on me about Hoovervilles, but I still thought it was an interesting idea. And obviously other people agree with me, so we'll see what happens on that. OGN, which is a gaming network online, has declared that New Hampshire, of all the 50 states, that New Hampshire, one of the smallest states, if not the smallest state in the United States, is the official state of video gamers. I don't know their reasoning for it. I don't know if it's a per capita thing because there's not that many people in New Hampshire, but is it a fact that since there is a small group of people, not small, but I mean, there's like a couple 100,000 people living in New Hampshire, that they all are video gamers? I don't know the entirety of the whole thing, but the fact is OGN has declared New Hampshire as the state of gamers. Corgi butts is a big thing now. There are corgi butt buns in Japan, which are filled with jam or custard. They look like corgi butts, and you bite into them, and they have jam or custard in them. And there's also corgi butt leggings now. If you want your wife, girlfriend, daughter, sister, grandmother, whatever, who wears leggings to, on their butt, make their butt look like a corgi butt, by all means, get you some corgi butt leggings. Corgis do have cute butts, but yeah, okay. Thanks, Russ Rock. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is to end after next season. After this season, I think I talked about that last week, but Craig Robin, who had a recurring role in the show, has been tapped to star in the new sitcom that the showrunners of Brooklyn Nine-Nine will be doing as their new project after Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So he's going to be working with them again. Carson Wentz, the prospect, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, who was going to be the next coming of Joe Montana, who just could not stop getting injured and had some flashes here of greatness, stuff like that, but he's sort of worn out his welcome in Philly now, has been traded to the Indianapolis Colts. That's an NFL thing that's going on. So he's the second high-profile quarterback to be traded from one team to another. So we'll see how much that continues as well. Scientists have cloned their first ever United States endangered species. That to me seems to be, it should be a bigger story than it actually is. But the fact is they cloned an entire endangered species creature. So there's got to be more to that story to be continued, I guess, as well. There's the drinking urine. I talked about that already. Todd McFarlane, who is not one of the nicest people in the world, but he's a fairly creative, good artist, okay writer, was huge in the early 90s, took over the Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man, and then ran away and created Spawn for Image. Has still working on Spawn, but he doesn't really draw it anymore. Draws the covers, I think, but he's not really an artist anymore. He does just the covers, and then he just keeps writing it, and he's got other people doing his stories. Well, since Spawn is his creation, he has decided that Spawn has sort of had a resurgence lately. It just had its 300th issue, and it made a lot of money and got a lot of people back into Spawn again. So he decided to take advantage of that and has announced that there are going to be 4 new Spawn comic book series coming out through the remainder of this year to create his own little Spawn Spawnverse. Marvel has in the comics, Marvel and DC have had a shared universe for centuries, and not for decades, I should say. Before the MCU came along to make it in film format, the comics always had, there were always crossovers between the characters all the time. And Spawn, Tom McFarlane grew up with those comics and said, that's kind of a neat idea. Let me try something like that. Hell, he drew one of the most famous ones. He drew an Incredible Hulk Wolverine crossover, an Incredible Hulk number 340, which was an amazing episode. It was an amazing comic, I should say. So he's creating 2 new Spawn books. Using like variations. There's a gunslinger Spawn and a medieval Spawn type of character, I guess, I think he's writing also, that he's creating. He's going to create a team book that has all these Spawns working together, as well as various other characters from the Spawnverse working together. So he has not announced who the creative teams are, but he did announce the people who are involved in it, and some of them are hugely popular artists and writers. So we will see what the creative teams are. The team Spawn book actually sounds kind of intriguing, so we'll see how that goes. I've never been I collected Spawn for like the first 20 issues or whatever when McFarlane was drawing it. Then when he stopped drawing, I was like, I don't want to say more. Plus, it was right around the time that I stopped collecting comics anyway. So we'll see. The internet's going crazy over a picture of a man in a hospital bed. It's a picture of a man. Just looks like he's sick, sitting in a hospital, clothes on. He's got like the wire things connected to that. He's got this kind of weird blank expression on his face, but it could be, you could chalk it up to it's just the camera or whatever. Yeah, actually turns out that he's part of the cake craze, that people are stunned when they see this picture. Like, okay, that's kind of an interesting picture, but it's just a person in a hospital bed. And someone goes, hey, look at this, and digs out cake. Someone created a full-size human on a hospital bed cake. Now, I don't know if it's full-size, meaning is it a 6-foot cake, 8-foot cake, whatever, or is it because the way it was framed, it looks bigger than it really is? I don't know, but it freaking blew my mind when I saw it as well. And that's what a lot of these cakes do nowadays, where it looks like it's a regular animal, and then you dig into it, and it's actually a cake. There's a Twitter handle I follow called Perfectly Cut Screams, where it shows TikTok videos and stuff like that end when someone screams, perfect screams. And a lot of it are animal ones like that. Well, there was a funny one where somebody's watching a video of someone that has a dog on a sofa and see them dig in, and it's a cake. And he's watching the video, he's like, oh, okay. And he looks over and he sees a dog on the sofa. So he says, oh, let me see. He grabs a spoon and starts going down like he's going to see if it's cake, and then the dog goes, rah, 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 and that's how the Perfectly Cut Scream goes. It was a joke he was doing. He knew it was his dog, but he just wanted to make that sort of joke thing. I thought that was kind of funny. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, that cake craze is kind of weird. Speaking of comic books, I think I announced this a while back. Free Comic Book Day has been pushed to August 14th, 2021. Normally it's the first weekend in May, but due to COVID, stuff like that, we don't know if COVID stuff's still going to be around, or if the shops are going to be open, whatever. But it is been pushed August 14th, 2021, which is actually a pretty good idea because we're supposed to be getting, everyone should be vaccinated by July. So that seems to be about the right timing for that. The comics that are going to be part of Free Comic Book Day will be released on March 15th, meaning not released to the public, but, or the comic shops, I should say, but are going to be shown, okay, these are what the Free Comic Book Days are going to be that are going to be out August 14th. A lot of it is, Marvel and DC to set up their next big event. So, and then just to see, what kind of, other stuff. I would assume probably that a Marvel DC one, they do like multiple ones anyway, might do an Aliens versus Predator thing because they just got the rights. Marvel just got the rights to Aliens and Predator from Dark Horse, so it might be something like that. And DC might be doing some big sort of crossover like they always do. And then it also, shows, okay, what are some, some of the other stuff you do, like, Dark Horse, they're going to do a new Hellboy thing by Mike Mignola or whatever. It's going to be good. So that'd be interesting to see that. World's oldest DNA has been revealed. It comes from a woolly mammoth 1.2 million years ago, is years old. So that's the oldest DNA strand that they have found and sequenced. It smells like bacon. No, I didn't fart. Gremlins was a great movie from 1985, one of my favorites. And Mountain Dew has decided to jump onto the nostalgia. So they made a new Mountain Dew commercial with Zach Galligan, who was the main actor in the Gremlins movies, and Gizmo, who was the main gremlin in Gizmo in the Gremlins movies. They're sitting on a sofa and Gizmo is drinking a Mountain Dew, and they have a little discussion, stuff like that. Gizmo is looking his age, which is really kind of funny. Zach Galligan was like a 18, 19, 20-year-old in 85, 95, 2005, 2015. He's 30 some years old. So now he's in his 40s, 40s or 50s right now. So he's got a full beard and he's looking a little bit older too. But Gizmo is too. Gizmo's got gray hair and wrinkles and stuff like that. So I kind of like how they aged up Gizmo, which is kind of cool. And that was a neat little commercial to see that. A couple weeks ago, Silence of the Lambs celebrated their 30th anniversary, 1991 also. So here's an interesting story. The house where the main villain of the movie, Buffalo Bill, lives is now a bed and breakfast. No telling if the pit is still in there or if you could sleep in the pit, which would be kind of interesting. But it is a bed and breakfast now. So if you want to sleep and eat in the same place that Buffalo Bill killed and skinned people, then hey, sure, go for it. It's fictionally. I know. I got it. Mortal Kombat was a hugely popular video game from the 90s on up, and it was made into a series of a couple of kind of crappy-ish movies, but, fairly entertaining ones like that. There's a new Mortal Kombat movie coming out this year, and the first trailer of it has appeared out there. It's exactly what you expect. It's going to be a hard R-rated Mortal Kombat video. You get the blood, the stuff you expect from the video game, because the video game was very realistic looking with people. It's just a fighting game with two people in outrageous costumes fighting each other and tearing people's limbs off, blood spewing everywhere, bones, heads being ripped off, shit like that. And this movie looks like it's going to be an adaptation of the video game. So you're going to have people get blood squirted on them and their heads ripped off and shit like that. So that'd be cool. Speaking of video games, President Biden was spotted playing Mario Kart at Camp David when he went away for the weekend. So, hey, he's a Mario Kart fan. That's awesome. Okay, I don't know what that says. What the hell is that? There's always something. So I can't tell what that is. Oh, yeah, China's rover on the moon spotted a weird elongated milestone on the far side of the moon. Like it's almost like one of the monoliths you've been seeing all across, but this was on the far side of the moon. It's something that this isn't just one of these crazy sites. It's actually NASA and stuff like that. They said they found this weird sort of stone that just sort of is peeking up out of the ground not doesn't look like the monolith, but it's like a milestone of some kind, and weird how it got to that point. Danny Elfman, one of my favorite scorers, movie score people, is set to score Doctor Strange 2, which is directed by Sam Raimi. Not surprising since he's done the score for a number of Sam Raimi's movies before. It's his first foray back into the Marvel universe since the Avengers, I believe, or Avengers 2. I think he did the music for that, but I don't think he's done any music for any of the other Marvel movies since then. But it'd be good to have him back. Bob Dole, who was one of the last of the true Republican politicians, people that, I don't like their policies, but they are, if they were elected president, whatever, I would not be entirely angry as I was when that terrorist was elected 4 or 5 years ago, 2016, 5 years ago. Bob Dole is the last of one of those old school Republicans. His wife is an amazing woman also. I think she passed away recently. Discovers he has stage 4 lung cancer, so he's probably not long for this world either. We'll probably be announcing his death in the next couple weeks, which is kind of sad because Bob Dole has had an amazing life, was a really good, I wouldn't say good, but he was a better politician than some people were, some Republicans were, and just went up against the buzzsaw that was President Clinton during the 96 election, I believe. Bob Dole ran against him and lost. But Dole was not a sore loser. Dole was a good guy, and as I said, his wife was amazing, and his wife would have made a great president as well. That's the point. That's what it is. Dwarf planet Ceres is an ocean world, apparently, according to science. Scientists have discovered that Ceres, one of the meteors in the meteor. I guess it is. That's 3. That's number 3. In the meteor belt, asteroid belt, is a ocean world. So that's kind of interesting as well. Got a bunch of Easter stuff here. Skittles is releasing for Easter small packs of Skittles that are disguised in packages that look like grass. That way you can hide the bags themselves in your backyard for your Easter egg hunt, and people are going to have a hard time finding them. I think that's kind of a unique way of doing stuff like that. Peeps Chicken Coop, or I should say Cookie Coop, is a edible dessert akin to a gingerbread house, but it's a chicken coop made of gingerbread or whatever, or cookies or whatever that you can put your Peeps into, and there's some other stuff as well. It's kind of neat that they've created that. You can use like icing and stuff like that. Just as I said, like a typical gingerbread house. Dove has lemon meringue flavored chocolates. I don't know if that's going to taste all that good, but lemon meringue is a definite spring flavor, and chocolate is, I don't know, but Dove decided, hey, this is actually pretty cool. So we'll see what happens with that. Oreos cookie and cream eggs for Easter are a new thing now too. Could be good. I mean, like white chocolate and crumbles of Oreo cookies, it could be pretty good. Or have them like the Cadbury Easter eggs and have it be like a white chocolate with specks of chocolate exterior, but then you bite into it, it's like a creamy center that tastes like Oreo cream. We'll see what happens. Japan is, being an enlightened country, is also not unaffected by terrible decisions. A Japanese school determined that a young girl's brown hair was not natural, so ordered her to dye it black. Family was not very happy about that, so they schooled the school system, and they won. So good on that. Force kids to change is not right. That's just me right there. Speaking of Japanese, the world's first flying car that travels at altitudes of 10,000 feet is close to being released. They've been doing numerous tests on it. They've been testing different things, landings, stuff like that, and they seem to be pretty adamant that this is going to be happening very shortly. So good on that as well. What the hell is this? Oh yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Okay. Scientists accidentally discovered life 3,000 feet under the Antarctic ice. We pretty much probably knew that was bound to happen eventually, but we now have proof of that. And a huge monolith, as I was just talking about on the far side of the moon, there is an actual huge monolith that was discovered sticking out of the ice in Antarctica as well. So we got those as well. A steering wheel tray lets you eat comfortably in your car as soon as you get your food. Basically, it is a tray that connects between you and the steering wheel that's steady. You put your food on it, and you can eat. Now, in order for that to work, which is, I guess, the safety feature, you can't steer the car, because if you did that, the table that is, used to put your food on, it's going to move regardless if it's stuck on you. It's either going to not allow you to move the wheel, or it's going to move themselves. It's basically used for the fact that nowadays you cannot go into restaurants, fast food places to eat really anymore. So you go through the drive-through and you pick up the stuff. But if you really, really want something to eat like that second, you can pull in the parking lot, you can put this table out, and you can eat it like normal, like you're eating at a restaurant. Months last year sometime when all this happened with COVID and stuff like that, I went to Chick-fil-A because I was in the mood for a Chick-fil-A sandwich, breakfast sandwich. And I didn't order through the drive-through. I went in the stop with my mask on, and I got it, and they gave it to me quickly, and I ate it in my car. And it was a kind of a mess. So this table will be good as long as you don't try to eat while you're driving, which is not right. Tim Burton, who has made some inroads into wanting to do a Addams Family reboot for like a Netflix or something like that, has made his first inroads into that by announcing that he will be show running and directing the first episode of an 8-episode series for Netflix called Wednesday, which is on Wednesday Addams as I believe, some sort of detective or something like that. But I think because, as I said, he has interest in doing an Addams Family reboot. And if it does really well, he can always, and it's a good way to segue into it, he can use this Wednesday Addams as like a backdoor pilot sort of thing to get this Addams Family show off the ground as well. So, and it's going to be the first show that he ever directed for television. So he'll actually be directing an episode, the first episode of the series. A child accidentally kills his mom when her gun that she had in her purse fell out on the floor. He picked it up and shot her. Sometimes you just gotta, be safer with your guns, people. That's all I'm saying. Cotton candy Twinkies are going to start coming out probably this spring and summer to give you that sort of old school summer sort of treat. I'm not sure how that's going to taste, because a cotton candy flavor inside a Twinkie just does not sound appetizing to me. Golden Girls are coming to, of all places, Disney Plus. So if you want up on your Golden Girls or watch them for the first time or rewatch them or whatever, they're not on Netflix. They're going to be on Disney Plus. Don't know the date yet, but they will be coming soon. The Muppet Show, the original one, debuted this week on Disney Plus as well, and it already has some advisories for people watching it, because I guess there might have been some racist jokes or whatever with that. So they're saying, just be aware, it's happening. So that's kind of weird. Baseball season, pitchers and catchers for baseball teams started practicing in Sarasota, Florida, or in Arizona. Those are 2 locations for spring training. This week, games start at the end of the month, which is coming up rapidly. This is the last full week of February coming up. I still have one more episode in February, so I can't say, hey, this is the last episode of February. No, I don't. The 26th and 27th of February, or rather, I'm sorry, the 27th and 28th of February are next weekend. So we still have one more weekend and one more week of February before we get into meteorological spring in March. But that's only 14 days away. So not even that, 7 days away. 8 days away. So meteorological spring is in 8 days away. Anyway, pitchers and catchers are meeting. So spring training is starting to get underway right now. As I said, the games are playing in the end of February, stuff like that. And they're going to try to do a full season. The Orioles, my team, they I talked about this last week. They debuted their schedule. They've got a lot of games starting at 6:30 for eventually for when they because if they're 3 hours, they'll get over like at 9:30. They won't be like 10, 11 o'clock lateness, stuff like that. They're going to keep some of the rules like over extra innings is going to be starting with somebody on second base, to move the game along quickly, stuff like that. So, but the Toronto Blue Jays, who are a Canadian baseball team, due to the Canadian rule that no one from the United States is allowed into Canada due to COVID-19 practices, and that's still going to be in place regardless of who's in the Oval Office, and that just makes sense. The Toronto Blue Jays, for the second year in a row, do not have a place to play. Now, last year, the season started in August, and or late July, I should say. It should be late July, early August. And it was warm, so they played at their affiliate in Buffalo, New York, which is not that far of a drive for Toronto. So it was a little bit better. But now that the Major League Baseball is going to try to do an entire season this year, starting mostly with no fans in the stands and gradually increasing it as the months progress and the vaccine and stuff happens, the Blue Jays really cannot play in Buffalo for the first half of the season because it doesn't get really, really warm in Buffalo till like April. Well, I guess that's I should say maybe more like May, June, because it's still going to be cold. It's still going to be snowy because Buffalo is upstate New York. It's close to Canada where it's always cold all the time. The summers are beautiful, but the spring, early spring, and winter are just rough for people in Buffalo. I mean, they handle it because they live there, but you're not going to have you don't really want to have a baseball game where the night game temperature is 20 degrees. You don't want either team to play in that sort of stuff. So they're going to start their season playing in Florida, and I guess maybe eventually if the sanctions get lifted, they'll probably end up going back to Toronto. But if they don't, I would not doubt once summer hits, they'll go back to Buffalo and they'll play in Buffalo. It just makes sense. But right now they will be starting their season in Florida. A rare white kangaroo was born in a New York zoo, the first ever one born in the United States. So rare white kangaroos are crazy. Good on that. A Twitch streamer made $16,000 by filming himself asleep and letting viewers try to bother him with loud noises. I guess they said, hey, if you want to wake me up or do loud noises, I'm trying to sleep and have it live on television, I'll open up the mics and you can shoot stuff in there and all this stuff and make loud noises and try to keep me awake or whatever. You can do it for say $500 or whatever. And so he made $16,000 by doing that. So for losing a night's sleep for $16,000, it's not bad at all. Animation styles are different for all types of things and story, stuff like that. It's kind of a weird thing. Cartoon Network or something has done some really crazy, weird animation lately, and it seems to be the new thing. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Well, they decided they're going to do the first Aquaman cartoon in a really long time, and they're making it in the sort of style of a Rick and Morty cartoon where the characters look absolutely ghastly, and Mera has a unibrow and is absolutely awful, and it just looks terrible. So they're going to be releasing that eventually. I'm not a big fan of that. That's just me. Maybe it's an art style. Maybe people like it. I mean, you can't really say anything about art. It's their decision. They make their own decision about art, but I don't like it. That's just me though. What is this? A Constantine reboot from J.J. Abrams is coming to HBO Max. We kind of knew that was going to happen anyway. There have been talks about that for a while. It'll lead to Justice League Dark, which he's a member of, and has Zatanna. It's supposed to be a Zatanna TV show as well, and that's going to lead into Justice League Dark as well. So you're going to have these series leading into it. They're going to go for a younger version of Constantine, obviously, because you're going to probably want to do the sexual tension and blah, 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 and have an actor who can age with it, so that's hugely popular. But J.J. Abrams is going to be involved, and it's going to be on HBO Max eventually. Emma Stone is doing a movie called Cruella, which gives a backstory history of Cruella de Vil. It's going to be coming out in movie theaters this year. It's on that trend of, trying to humanize villains, like the Joker movie that came out it's like 2 years ago, I think 2019. And stuff like that, to try to humanize villains. And I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it's Emma Stone, and we'll see. Wasps have been deployed and stuff like that, to try to humanize villains. And I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it's Emma Stone, and we'll see. Wasps have been deployed to protect a mansion from moths. So one mansion has been attacked by moths consistently. So they bought a bunch of wasps and have deployed them around their mansion to try to control the moth population. So that's a neat, interesting story. A goldfish who can't swim is given a life jacket to be able to keep on swimming. I think I talked about the story before, but it's always neat to see that. It's kind of a little story about a goldfish who is damaged and hurt and can't swim, but in order to keep him afloat, they gave him a life vest so he can still swim and keep himself afloat, which is good. NCIS, which is one of CBS's most famous television series out there, it's got a number of different NCIS episodes, are going to be doing a Hawaii show coming probably this upcoming fall, probably. 25 years ago this week, Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler's golf comedy, debuted, and Adam Sandler decided to celebrate the occasion by making a golf video of his character Happy Gilmore, and also ragging on, I forget the actor who played him, but the actor who played the villain, and the actor who played the villain responded and is like, "Yep, I'm going to fight right back to you." So they had a little bit of fun doing that as well. So I thought that was kind of neat. Couple spends $55,000 modifying their home to care for 20 senior dog and special needs dogs. So they want to take care of these senior and special needs dogs. So they had to redo their house and modify it so that these elder dogs and dogs that have special needs can be comfortable. And I think that's a really lovely sentiment, and it's wonderful. Cinnamon Toast Crunch item is now available in your local grocery store. So go ahead and take it out. If you like the cereal, go ahead and grab the ice cream as well. 1 in 4 Americans believe that the sun rotates around the earth. Again, a belief that happened in the 1500s before it was proven to not be true by science, you dumb fucks. Why are there so many fucking stupid people? And why do they have a fucking way to talk about all this bullshit? God damn it, makes my head want to blow up, and I'm going to go and just kill people. Fucking idiots. Some happy news. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan are expecting their second child. That's good for them. Red Velvet Pop-Tarts are back in stores, as are new Red Velvet Cinnamon Rolls. So Red Velvet's all over the place now. I talked about earlier about Pokemon Go. They're still doing their community days. This year, however, it seems like the community days have themes, which is something I've been trying to have them do for a while, but they seem to be doing that now. This month, March's community day coming up will be Fletchling, which is the Robin Pokemon. What are Robins associated with? Why, the first day of spring. And when is the first day of spring? In the month of March. So Community Day is a week before the first day of spring. But the fact is they seem to be doing themes this year, because February's Community Day was Rosa Raid, the Rose Pokemon. Again, you give roses for Valentine's Day in February. And January's Community Day was Machop, who is the fighting Pokemon and exercise Pokemon, so like that. So what do you do in January? You say, my New Year's resolution is to get in shape. So like that. Machop is a big, bulky, Machamp is his evolution, is a big, bulky, strong fighter type, and that's a way to grow that. So what do we have upcoming then? So we have that April brings about Easter, and there's plenty of bunny-esque ones as well for Easter, and even chick ones if you want to do that too. So that'll be a good one if they decide to continue with this theme. They've got April already planned out. We don't know what it is yet, and I could be wrong, but right now it just seems like they are trying to do themes, which I think is a really good idea. So you got, pretty much we're going to keep doing that. April is going to be an Easter theme. May, you might do, there's like bell sprout or something like that. There's always some other type of, plants. May is like when flowers and stuff like that start blooming. June, you can have like some sun one, or there's the July. There's different things probably do, and that would be great if they continue doing that. Maybe in October we'll get a community day that's a ghost type, which I've always been wanting, but never getting. So now we're on our last half page here. David Boreanaz and Nicholas Brendan have finally made their comments about Joss Whedon, which I talked about that last week. They show their support for their fellow actors and actresses, as does Amy Acker, who was in Angel as well. They follow support for their cast against Joss Whedon. Hundreds of blue alien-like creature fish have been washing up upon the Australian coast. They're weird-looking fish that had never been seen before, new species of fish that have been washing up on the coast of Australia. So people are trying to figure out what that is. Also in Australia, fisherman spots a huge crocodile climbing a tree in Australia. That just makes you go, wow, if crocodiles start climbing trees, we're screwed. And speaking of crocodiles, a Cretaceous-era crocodile terrorized dinosaurs with banana-saw teeth. So that's been discovered. So that's kind of crazy like that. World's largest 3D printed house could be yours for $299,000. I'm always intrigued about how 3D printing works. I don't quite know. Can you create wires and pipes and stuff like that, or is it just the frames and the floors and stuff like that? Are that the only, and the doors? So is it the pipe? How does that even work? I don't know. Original Real World cast. Remember the Real World, man, that might be getting close to 30 years also. I think it was early 90s when that came out. The original Real World cast in New York, when the first episode of the first season, the first series of Real World that took place in New York, the cast members are supposedly coming back together for a new series. So I don't know if that's going to be a return to the Real World, because they did that like maybe 10, 15 years after their thing. They all got back together again for another show or whatever. I think we're going to get another helping of that, so that'll be interesting. Some local news, Brenda Fries, who is the amazing head coach of the Maryland University of Maryland's women's University of Maryland Terrapins women's basketball team, won her 500th game this week, which is an amazing record for a coach. Puts her up there as Hall of Fame-esque and up there with some of the greatest coaches of all time. She has won 500 games. And after that, that was the beginning of a 3-game win streak after losing the previous game. So she's still winning. So congratulations to Brenda Fries on that. Okay, I did that one already. Nicki Minaj's father apparently was killed by a hit-and-run driver this week. I didn't put that in death because I don't have the information to go with that except for that headline. Cars, and going with the weather stuff I talked about earlier in the show, cars were buried overnight in a huge snow drift in the UK. So the UK got a huge snowfall earlier this week as well. Beverly Hills cops are spotted playing Beatles songs to trigger Instagram copyright filter, which means that if someone is filming them on Instagram doing something illegal, if they play Beatles music, the Instagram cannot post the video due to copyright issues. They can get away with their crimes if they do that. So they somehow figured out a way around that, which I think is absolutely horrendous if that's indeed what they're doing it for. Due to the Arctic weather in Austin, Texas, stuff like that. People sometimes go a little crazy. I remember a few years back when we had a bunch of blizzards in New York and stuff like that. There was a guy dressed head to toe as a Bigfoot. I think it was Massachusetts actually, it's in Boston, was dressed as Bigfoot and would walk through the snowy streets by himself and was photographed by people wearing his Bigfoot costume. A man dressed as Game of Thrones Night King keeps popping up in different cameras and pictures all over Austin, Texas. So this guy is basically dressed up as, a creature who lives on these freezing temperatures, popping up around in freezing areas of Austin. Now, the last two stories today are, collection based, and I had to sort of combine them a little bit because it's kind of funny. X-Force #1, which was a huge comic at the time in the early 90s. Again, Rob Liefeld, stuff like that. When they released the #1, Rob Liefeld at the time when he took over New Mutants was one of the biggest comic book artists of all time. And everyone loved his stuff. And so they gave him a new series called X-Force. And to make it an extra special X-Force, they did like 12 covers that were polybagged with a card in them of each of the characters in X-Force. Now, in the New Mutant series, Rob Liefeld helped create Deadpool along with Fabian Nicieza. And so this is, before Deadpool was hugely popular, but he was still pretty popular at the time. So what they did is he did like it was like 10 or 12 copies of the same book. It's the same cover, same exact book, but it was in a poly bag with a different card in it. So of course, comic book stores at that time, they wanted all of the different cards. Maybe not 12, that might be a little bit much, but there's like 6 or 7 at least. Anyway, they wanted all the cards. So they would order a ton. So it made they sold millions of copies because people were hoarding them. They thought it would be, a way to, speculation was huge at that time. So they thought X-Force #1 with all these different cards, polybagged. If we don't open up the poly card in there, it's going to be worth a ton of money someday. I'll be able to send my kids to college or retire on selling these. But the problem was that because so many people wanted them, they've made millions of copies of them. They're all still out there. That makes comic books that sell for millions of dollars so rare, is because those comics have very little amounts of them out there, like the Spider-Man #1s and the Detective Comics 27, stuff like that. 100 some copies out in the whole world. That's what makes them $1 million comics. Whereas X-Force #1 had like 15, 20 minted, and everybody bought them, and everybody has them. So basically, they should really only be worth cover price, or maybe a little bit higher now with some inflation. It might be worth maybe $10. Maybe if you have all of them, it's not going to be enough to send your kids to college or for you to retire on. However, weirdly enough, somehow a X-Force #1 with a Deadpool card sold for $100. I have no idea why or how that happened, and I know I have one of those in one of these boxes I have around the house here. So that just seems odd. Anyway, the final story today is I began the show with Pokemon. I'm going to end the show with Pokemon. A rare Pokemon card sold for $60,000 at auction. And then it got lost in the mail being delivered to the person who bought it. So the guy spent $60,000 on a card that he does not have and has been lost in the mail. Who knows where it is now? So obviously, hopefully he's going to get his money back. But damn, that's kind of shitty that happened. So that is the end of this episode of Dylan Knows, episode 390, Life and How to Live It. No technical difficulties, which is fantastic. Maybe I should continue to do Sunday afternoon shows. Next week's episode 391 will be the last one for February, as this year is starting to really move quickly, and we're going to start entering into a warmth that there's connections with stable. All right, I'm done. Don't need to wait anymore. We're out of here. Bye.